The mathematical probability of two unrelated people sharing the same face is astronomically low, and yet, nature does not always follow the rules. And when that happens on live television, in front of millions of people, the results are some of the most jaw-dropping, hilarious, and genuinely surreal moments in entertainment history. These are the 20 most unbelievable times celebrities came face-to-face with their exact double, ranked from mind-blowing to absolutely impossible to explain. Number 20. Let's ease into this list with something lighthearted, because John Legend Grammy-winning musician, EGOT holder, one of the most decorated artists of his generation, has a problem. And that problem is a cartoon aardvark. On The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, Legend sat down and admitted what millions of people had already been saying on the internet for years. He looks exactly like Arthur, the beloved PBS children's show character. Not vaguely similar, not if you squint, exactly like. The glasses, the round face, the warm and gentle expression, it is all there. Legend said that once someone pointed it out to him, he genuinely could not unsee it. He showed a side-by-side photo on the show, looked at it for a long moment, and then just nodded. "I do in that picture," he said. The audience erupted. The meme had officially been confirmed by the man himself, and the internet has never let him forget it since. Number 19. Gordon Ramsay is one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. The sharp jaw, the furrowed brow, the expression that looks permanently on the verge of telling someone their risotto is an embarrassment. There is no mistaking that face. So when a man appeared on Ramsay's show who looked like a smaller, slightly less intense version of Gordon himself, the moment became instantly iconic. Ramsay leaned in, studied the man's face, and then asked him point blank whether anyone had ever told him he looked a little bit like him. The man smiled and confirmed that yes, people told him constantly. Gordon nodded, satisfied. Then the man delivered the best line of the entire encounter. "I've got the look, but I can't cook." Gordon Ramsay, for once in his life, had nothing to say. Number 18. Walk through any international airport as Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and you may find yourself being approached by strangers speaking rapid-fire Spanish, who are completely convinced they are talking to Oscar-winning Spanish actor Javier Bardem. This has been happening to Morgan for years. The two actors, both known for playing intense, powerful characters with dark, heavy features, share a face structure so similar that fans across the world regularly mix them up. Bardem, characteristically gracious about the whole thing, has publicly stated that he finds the comparison flattering because he thinks Morgan is very handsome. He added that he is not sure Morgan is getting the better end of the deal. At the time Bardem said this, the two had never actually met in person. Morgan, for his part, has confirmed that the airport incidents happen constantly, without warning, and usually involve someone speaking at full volume and full speed before he can get a word in. Number 17. Benedict Cumberbatch already has one of the most distinctive faces in Hollywood. Angular, sharp, impossible to replicate, or so you would think. At the Graham Norton show, a Cumberbatch lookalike was brought backstage as a surprise for the audience. The resemblance was so convincing that producers decided to bring him out during a live recording. But what made the moment genuinely unforgettable was what happened next. The real Benedict Cumberbatch walked over, snuck into a photo between the lookalike and a surprised guest, and then casually walked away as if nothing had happened. The audience reaction was pure chaos. For a brief, wonderful moment, there were two Benedict Cumberbatches standing in the same room, and neither of them looked like the odd one out. Number 16. Conan O'Brien has spent decades being one of the most visually distinctive late-night hosts on television. The pale skin, the enormous forehead, the bright red hair, the lanky frame, it is a silhouette that should be unrepeatable. And yet, somewhere in Finland, nature tried its best. When Conan visited Finland for one of his travel segments, he encountered a local man named Mikko-Pekka Hanski, who bore such a startling resemblance to him that Conan immediately brought him on his show. The two stood side by side, delivering the same awkward energy, the same slightly confused expression, and the same general vibe of a man who is not entirely sure what is happening, but is willing to commit to the bit. Conan joked that everywhere he goes, people keep asking him for cars because the Finnish double apparently works in the automotive industry. "Tell them you're fresh out," Conan advised. Number 15. Katy Perry has had not one but two extraordinary lookalike encounters on the set of American Idol. The second one, which ranks here at number 15, happened when a contestant walked through the audition doors and the entire panel of judges went quiet. The contestant was a young woman from a small town, with a country twang in her voice, and the exact face of Katy Perry. Katy leaned forward and asked her directly, "Are you the country version of me?" The woman smiled and said that everyone back home tells her she looks like Katy. "Were we separated at birth?" Katy followed up. The woman responded with a confidence that matched Perry's own energy, and Katy immediately declared that she had an attitude problem in the best possible way. The two stood next to each other for comparison, and the resemblance was genuinely difficult to explain. Number 14. Of all the coincidences on this list, this one is the most statistically impossible to accept. Two completely unrelated professional baseball players, both named Brady Feigls, both standing exactly 6 feet 4 inches tall, both with bright red hair, both with full red beards, and both wearing glasses, discovered each other's existence through their teams. They had never met. They had no known family connection. They did not grow up in the same place, did not attend the same schools, and had no shared history whatsoever. When they finally met face to face, they described the experience as looking into a mirror that had somehow made a few small editorial decisions. They finished each other's sentences and then immediately disagreed about whether they had done so. They eventually agreed to take a DNA test together. The results confirmed what any logical person would struggle to believe. They are completely unrelated. Nature simply ran out of ideas and used the same template twice. Number 13. Steve Harvey has one of the most recognizable faces in American television. The thick mustache, the broad smile, the expression of a man who has seen everything and is still somehow surprised by it. So when he looked out into the live audience of his own talk show and noticed a man sitting in the third row who appeared to be wearing his face, Steve Harvey did what Steve Harvey does best. He went completely off script. He stopped the show entirely, pointed directly at the man, and asked out loud into a live microphone why this person looked like him. He made the man stand up. He made him take his hat off. He walked over, studied him from multiple angles, and then delivered his verdict to the entire audience. "You actually got a better mustache than I got." The crowd went absolutely wild. The man, to his enormous credit, handled the whole thing with remarkable composure. Number 12. Most celebrities, when confronted with a lookalike, react with humor, warmth, or at minimum basic good grace. Cristiano Ronaldo is not most celebrities. When the global soccer superstar came face to face with a man who mirrored his appearance with startling accuracy, same jaw, same eyes, same build, Ronaldo's response was not laughter. It was not a friendly photo opportunity. It was a flat, direct, and completely sincere denial. "You don't look like me," Ronaldo said, looking directly at a man who looked exactly like him. He said it again. He maintained this position despite significant visual evidence to the contrary. The clip went massively viral, not because of the resemblance, though the resemblance was genuinely impressive, but because of the sheer conviction with which Ronaldo refused to acknowledge it. Some men look in the mirror and see greatness. Ronaldo, apparently, does not share that mirror with anyone. Number 11. Jack Black arrived at the Jumanji movie premiere in 2017, expecting a standard evening of press, photos, and fan interactions. What he did not expect was to find a man standing in the crowd who appeared to have borrowed his face. The moment Jack spotted him, the premiere became a completely different event. Jack did not slow down, did not process the situation quietly, and absolutely did not move on. He immediately demanded that someone photograph them together. He positioned them side by side. He narrated the entire experience out loud for everyone nearby. He treated the whole encounter with the same enormous, explosive energy he brings to every film role, every interview, and every public appearance. The man in the crowd matched his energy almost perfectly, which, given the circumstances, made the whole thing even funnier. Jack Black found his double and immediately turned him into a co-star. Number 10. Margot Robbie and Emma Mackey almost had a scene about it. The resemblance between Australian actress Margot Robbie and British actress Emma Mackey has been circulating on the internet since at least 2019, when a morphing video of their two faces was posted online and immediately went viral. When director Greta Gerwig began casting the Barbie movie, she and Robbie made a deliberate choice to offer Mackey a role specifically because of their famous resemblance. The original plan included an actual on-screen joke about how much the two looked alike. They went as far as developing the bit before deciding against it because once they were both in full costume with different hair colors, they actually looked less similar than expected. The joke was cut, But the fact that a major Hollywood film was partially cast because of a lookalike joke that had been running on the internet for years is, itself, one of the most unusual casting decisions in recent memory. Number 9. The confusion between Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe is one of the longest-running cases of celebrity mistaken identity in Hollywood history. Both actors are short, both have large, intensely blue eyes. Both became globally famous as young men in enormous fantasy film franchises, and both have spent the last 2 decades being approached by strangers who are absolutely certain they are the other person. Radcliffe has a theory. He believes people associate them because they exist in the same mental category. Young, British-coded fantasy franchise leads, and the brain simply files them together. A GIF was created that morphs slowly between their 2 faces, and the transformation is so smooth, so subtle, and so seamless that the viewer cannot identify the exact moment one face becomes the other. It has been viewed over 15 million times online. Both men have confirmed on separate occasions that the mix-ups continue to happen regularly in airports, restaurants, and on the street. Money. Number 8. When mega-famous lifestyle influencer Abby Herbert randomly crossed paths with a complete stranger named Emily Doyle, neither of them was prepared for what they were about to see. The 2 women share not only the same face, same nose, same eyes, same bone structure, but also the same hand gestures, the same posture, the same way of tilting their head when they speak, and the same general rhythm of movement. When they filmed together and placed the footage side by side, viewers in the comments reported that they could not tell which one was which, even when actively trying. Multiple people pointed out that Apple's Face ID technology, which maps thousands of facial data points to distinguish between individuals, would almost certainly fail to separate these 2. They are not related. They had never met. They simply exist as 2 separate people wearing the exact same face. Number 7. Russian TikTok and Instagram influencer Irina Minkina, who posts under the handle @HoweverSnowy, does not just look like Billie Eilish. She looks like Billie Eilish in a way that goes beyond facial structure. She replicates the same expressions, the same energy, the same aesthetic choices, and the same way of existing in front of a camera that made Eilish one of the most distinctive visual presences in modern pop music. The resemblance is so complete and so convincing that dedicated Billie Eilish fans, people who have spent years studying her face closely enough to recognize her in a crowd, regularly fail to identify which images are Minkina and which are the real artist. Billie herself has acknowledged the situation on stage, spotting a fan in the audience who bore such a strong resemblance that she stopped mid-performance and stared. Number 6. For years, fans of comedian Will Ferrell and Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer Chad Smith maintained a running joke that the 2 men were secretly the same person living a double life. The theory was that Ferrell played the funny man by day and the rock drummer by night, or vice versa, depending on who was telling the story. Both men eventually acknowledged the joke publicly, which led to the inevitable and genuinely spectacular conclusion. A live drum battle on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon in 2014. Both men showed up wearing identical outfits. Both men sat behind drum kits. What followed was several minutes of competitive drumming, audience chaos, and the visual spectacle of 2 people who share a face trying to outperform each other in front of a national television audience. Chad Smith had reportedly grown so tired of the comparisons that fans at his concerts would shout Ferrell's name at him mid-set. The drum battle was, in some ways, his official response. Number 5. Dwayne Johnson and his longtime stunt double Tanoi Reed have worked together for over 15 years. Reed has stood in for The Rock in some of the most physically demanding sequences of his career, the jumps, the crashes, the sequences that require a body capable of absorbing enormous amounts of force without flinching. Over those 15 years, something remarkable happened. Reed began to look more and more like Johnson. Same build, same face structure, same presence. When The Rock decided to thank Reed on camera with a surprise gift, a fully customized truck, he did it in front of a crew, with cameras rolling, and the moment captured 2 men standing side by side who looked so similar that viewers watching the clip had genuine difficulty distinguishing them at a glance. Johnson called Reed his brother, his partner, and his Uso. Both men stood in front of the truck in tears. The internet could not decide which part was more impressive, the truck, or the fact that Dwayne Johnson apparently has a twin. Number 4. The first Katy Perry lookalike encounter on American Idol, which ranks significantly higher than the second one, happened during one of the most perfectly timed accidental television moments in recent memory. A contestant walked through the audition doors. Behind him was his mother. She was a completely ordinary woman with no connection to the music industry whatsoever. She was simply there to support her son. And she had the face of Katy Perry, not approximately, not in the right lighting. The face of Katy Perry, in front of Katy Perry, on the set of a show that Katy Perry was judging. Katy lost all composure instantly. She stood up. She demanded a side-by-side photo. She asked the woman's son, who was standing there attempting to audition for a career in music, whether that was his sister. It was his mother. Katy then turned to the camera and asked the most genuinely sincere question of the entire season. Is that what I'm going to look like when I'm a grandma? Because I would love it. Number 3. In October 2024, YouTuber Anthony Poe organized what was supposed to be a casual lookalike contest at Washington Square Park in New York City. The idea was simple. Find the person in the city who best resembled Timothée Chalamet, the Oscar-nominated, cheekbone-having, curly-haired star of Dune, Wonka, and Call Me By Your Name. What Poe did not anticipate was the scale of the response. Hundreds of young men with dark hair and sharp features showed up wearing Wonka hats, Dune costumes, and various degrees of commitment to the Chalamet aesthetic. The park was completely overwhelmed. Police arrived. 4 arrests were made. A $500 fine was issued. And then, in the middle of all of it, the real Timothée Chalamet appeared. He was wearing a baseball cap. He had grown a mustache. He walked through the crowd for several minutes before people began to recognize him, at which point the situation became, by all accounts, absolutely impossible to manage. It was the first time in recorded history that the subject of a lookalike contest showed up to judge it himself. Number 2. Ed Sheeran revealed on the Graham Norton show that he has a professional lookalike, a man from Manchester named Ty Jones, whose literal occupation is to appear at events, shoots, and productions when Ed himself is unavailable. Ty has been working as a professional Ed Sheeran double for years, which is already a remarkable enough situation. But the story takes a genuinely extraordinary turn when you learn what happened during the production of Bridget Jones's Baby in 2016. Ed was booked for 2 days on the film. He could only make 1. The producers needed someone to fill the second day. They hired Ty Jones without telling the rest of the cast or crew who he actually was. Ty filmed a full day on a major Hollywood production pretending to be a globally famous musician, and the scene was included in the final film. Ed explained on the Graham Norton show that Ty's character ends up getting with Bridget's friend during the second day of filming. Ed smiled. "Getting people sorted," he said. "It's working." Number 1. This is the most perfectly executed celebrity prank in modern television history, and it is not particularly close. In 2015, Adele, one of the most recognizable voices and faces on the entire planet, disguised herself using a prosthetic nose, a different chin, a wig, and theatrical makeup. She then attended an open casting call for professional Adele impersonators, introduced herself as a nervous beginner named Gabriella, and spent an extended period of time in a room full of people whose entire professional focus was studying and replicating the face, voice, and mannerisms of Adele. Not one of them recognized her. Gabriella chatted with other contestants about how excited she was for Adele's new music. She expressed her admiration for the artist. She talked about how she had just started out. When the moment finally came for Gabriella to perform, she began singing in her real voice slowly, carefully, letting the quality creep in. One woman had to sit down, another covered her mouth. The room collapsed into stunned silence, then absolute chaos, then tears, as each person in that room processed the fact that they had been sitting next to Adele while discussing how much they loved Adele. It is, without question, the greatest doppelganger moment ever captured on film, not because of a visual resemblance, but because Adele managed to hide in plain sight from the only people on Earth who should have been able to see through it immediately.